Welcome to All Things in the Name of Love. If you like this show, please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks. Welcome to another episode of All Things in the Name of Love. And today I have with me Shawn Gallaway, who is a two-time Global Peace Song Award-winning singer and songwriter, a visual artist, author, workshop facilitator, and energetic healer. He has traveled the world over, sharing his message of healing and transformation through the arts. Thank you for that. His I Choose Love song and online course, a collection of videos, songs, artwork, meditations, and processes, continue to inspire and educate people of all ages on how to awaken their hearts and find their art. And I will let you tell me your website at the end. So thank you so much, Shawn, for
Us.
joining me on this epic conversation.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I'm great to be here. Yeah.
So I want to ask you the first question, which is tell me a little bit about yourself and your spiritual journey.
Well, how long do you have? There's no little bit about it, um, well, I can say my spiritual journey big time started when I moved to Nashville, Tennessee. I moved here to be in the music business. I graduated from college and it was either New York or Nashville or LA, and eventually I made my way to Nashville. So the way it started was I was dating a woman and she said, "There's this process or workshop you can do to become a better songwriter." And I said, "Well, I'm in. Let's do it." And so it was called the Institute for Self Actualization, and it was the first deep dive that I ever went into, and I realized it's like, damn, who am I and who are these people in my family? Because I am definitely an alien. So anyway, that was the beginning of it for me, and I played with them for a few years and then got into breath work. I became a breathwork facilitator, and from there I started studying energy, and and of course all of this was uh, rich soil to create from.
Yeah.
And because I began to really awaken my heart, and one great gift was I was in the music business early on, like I said, but in Nashville, or any commercial music situation, it can get pretty, let's put it this way, I had to get outside of the lines if I was going to remain in music.
Yeah.
So I ended up taking an art course.
Oh, cool.
And the woman who taught me, her name was Sharon Rose. Our name is her spiritual name. But she never taught technique. She taught how to feel. In other words, it's like, for example, it's like when she first took me on to teach me, I was going through a lot of depression. I just had no idea what was going on with me inside and what to do with my life. And I didn't resonate with commercial country music that much, wasn't writing good songs about, I've been published a few times, but nothing really successful. But anyway, she took me through a process where she said, we did some breathing, some movements, stuff like that. And then she said, "What do you feel?" And I say, "I feel depressed." And she said, "Well, what color is it?" And I said, "It's black." And she said, "Well, how do you want to move your body?" And she said, "I just want to cover a piece of paper black." She said, "Well, go do that." So I'm painting away, painting depression as black, right? And so the next thing I did was, she said, "Well, what are you feeling now?" And I said, "Well, feeling a little pissed off, a little angry." And she said, "What color is it?" And I said, "It's red." And she said, "Well, how do you want to move your body?" And I said, "I just want to go like," and she said, "Well, go do that." And so I did it, and all over this paper. And then she said, "Well, what are you feeling now?" "Well, I feel a little bit more empowered." And she said, "What color is it?" And I said, "It's yellow." And she said, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I said, "I just want to put my hands in the paint and then put it all over this piece of paper." So she said, "Well, go do that." So I did it. And then the last thing she said, "What are you feeling now?" And I said, "Well, I'm feeling a little light, kind of like, twinkly almost, like, you know, like something was, and as I was doing this, I was coming out of depression like that.
Wow.
And so the last thing I did is I took my fingers and I just went like this and did it all over and put sparkles all over the painting. And I stepped back from it, and within literally 25 minutes, I had this like, 30, what, 24 by 36 piece of paper completely. And I looked at this thing and I said, oh my God, I know what I can do now. And
Wow.
it was had nothing to do with technique. It was just totally getting into the feeling and allowing the soul to come forward. Now, what she would, the teaching after that was that she said, when you paint this way, you'll be able to develop your own style because no one's keeping you inside the lines. And I love this, what she used to say to me. She said, if you want to make a tree the way it looks, just take a picture of it and we'll save us both a lot of time. Said, I want to see how you, as a soul, express tree in color.
Oh,
And
that's beautiful.
so yeah, so I mean, and I was a stick figure kind of person, I did have some talent in the arts when I was in grade school a little bit, but no one really knew how to develop it, so it went away. But this was a whole new way of creating, and I was able to transfer that over to making music as well. So a
Mm,
little bit more mind involved for me anyway with music.
okay.
And so when I was able to just get purely into the feeling and the heart of things, that's when, and people started buying my paintings within 3 months. I
Oh,
had the
wow.
cover of somebody's CD that had like 100,000, copies of it within the first year of my painting.
Wow.
So it was pretty wild. So, and since then there's been several different kinds of styles that have come through me. It's like I do ink and pastel. I got into another kind of, and I started off with just paper and kids paints, tempera paint. So, and I love teaching this process. It's one of my favorite things in the world to do because it's just a joy to help people get over their wounding from being judged by their ability to
Yeah.
create art. It's like I don't care. I always say it's the victory is in doing it, not what it looks like. You know,
Yeah.
and so you don't have to be a Picasso to enjoy the process of painting and getting into your soul. So
Yeah.
anyway, that was the next thing that I started doing. And so what else was on my spiritual journey? It's like at the same time I started painting, I began to. There was like a hole in my belly, and I had no idea who I was a man as a man.
Mm,
Not, it's like I didn't have any kind of rites of passage. My father was from a generation where, I mean, they didn't know who they were,
right.
and he didn't know how to really talk about his emotional well-being. And so he was a great provider, but very little emotional connection with him,
Mm,
you know. Um, so anyway, I got involved with men's circles and trained in Boulder, Colorado, with a group called the Men's Leadership Alliance, and got certified with them. And for years, I've been working with men, and personally been sitting in a men's circle for over 37 years now.
wow.
And it's part of my own what I call critical care as
Hmm.
well as a place of service for me. I've now considered an elder in that community, and I've had a lot of experience under my wings to share with the younger guys, and so that's a nice bridge to begin to experience that. So, and then it went from there into, it's like, okay, I knew myself as a man, but how do you connect with the feminine?
Hmm.
And so I ended up taking a course on gender reconciliation, a year-long study on that, and learning how to heal the wounds between men and women, and
Yeah.
and bring them into a place where when everyone realizes that everybody's wounded to the core, then we can build some bridges.
Yeah.
But when and when people get beyond the shame and blame, and we do that early on in the sort of the retreats we do with it, when they realize, oh my God, everyone's hurting, then we
Yeah.
can heal.
Yeah.
And so Yeah, so there's that. And then, of course, along the way, I took all kinds of uh, courses with, energetics, and I sort of made my own thing about it. I was given, my ex-wife now was a trance medium, and she gave me a outline through her to work on people energetically, and it was a really strong template and very simple.
Mm.
Uh, and so years ago, I guess this was almost 30 years ago now, even longer than that, I was doing clearing the central core,
Oh, cool.
and working with the chakra system, but
Yeah,
realizing that, what, if you get the core clean, things just fall into shape, and so it'd be, so anyway, so I've been, I've done lots of shamanic work. I've poured sweat ceremonies for a long time. I've dabbled in a lot of stuff, so my journey's been pretty intense, and and then the ancestral stuff on top of that, it's like
yeah.
right now, I think specifically, especially right now, what's happening in our world and the depth of the clearing that is happening. I think a lot of us who are way showers or, intuitives, whatever you want to call it, sensitives, it's like I think we're clean. Uh, I don't think I know we're processing the lineages,
Yeah.
and that's been really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, yeah, and so, and then, you know, I've had some really wild experiences with, and some people shy away from this, but I tell people don't be naive, and there are, in my experience, I've had experiences where I've had to wrestle off entities,
Mhm.
and really understand that there are beings that are not really comfortable with me getting higher in my vibration. And every time I take another step, well, there they are just saying, okay, how can we turn you now? I don't know if
It's
you've had that
like,
experience.
oh, yes.
Yeah. So it's like, so it's like, yeah,
And it's like, it's because we're just trying, for me, the way I phrase it is I'm trying to remember and embody my Christ consciousness. Like that's my biggest mission in this lifetime.
of course. Yeah.
And every time I expand, I'm either like physically taken out, like I'm exhausted for like a week, or some weird thing happens, or some person comes into my life that's here to like dim the light. And there's
Yes.
nothing wrong with it. It's just like seeing it and being aware of it, because as we bring in that light, not a lot of people, I mean, more people than I'm aware of are doing it, but it's still not the pervasive consciousness on the planet yet.
I agree with you on that for sure. And I had to get, the way I had to make sense of it was that, oh, they are actually there to help me, strengthen my conviction to embody that Christ light that you're talking about. It's like, okay, and I'll tell you, this is really a cool story, if I may.
Yeah.
I wrote a song when 9/11 happened called I Choose Love. And you had mentioned the online course that, in the introduction there.
Yeah.
And that song came 2 or 3 days after, the whole 9/11 thing, and I knew for me that it was a wake up call for humanity on a whole nother level.
Mhm.
And the whole premise from the song was it's like if we choose fear, we're going to get a lot more of that. But if
Mhm.
we choose love, we can create different outcomes for not only ourselves but humanity. And that song became a mantra for me because it was like, little did I know that it's not just a one-time choice, it's
Right.
over and over and over again in every day of every moment of my life,
Yeah.
so that song actually became quite popular in the healing communities all over the world. And so I was able to travel a lot. But the story I wanted to tell you, I was working with a healer at the time, and we come to a place in my evolvement, I guess you could say, where she said, Sean, you have the opportunity now to step into Christ consciousness. This is what are you? Is this something? I'm like, oh, of course, it's what I've wanted to do. She said,
Right.
well, we got to do a little ceremony for this, and then
Oh.
and sort of mark it, and I've learned
Yeah.
over the years, it's like when you hit those kind of thresholds, as I call them, you mark it.
Yeah.
It's another rite of passage,
Mhm.
it's not, so anyway, we did this ceremony and it was great and I didn't think much of it, I was just like excited and okay, here, what's this gonna bring?
Mhm.
So this was right after I had written that song.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
really close to right after that and recorded it. And it was
Yeah.
starting, it was starting to like and move out into the world. And so she said, okay, great. I left and whatever. And I went home that night. And about in the middle of the night, I woke up and I looked at and I'm looking and am I seeing things? I looked at the bottom, the base of my bed there, and there's this black hooded figure just standing there. And I'm like going, what the hell? And then all of a sudden it tries to jump into my body. And I
Wow.
kicked it off and I said, I choose love. And that was the test that came with putting that song out into the world
Mhm.
for me. So it was like that's like an example of like, that song was my own medicine, you know,
Yeah.
and it was lifting me up, and now that I've anchored it and integrated, it's moving out into the world and I can support other people doing that
Yeah.
with that way. So
Well,
yeah, that's that was what I was
you're
talking about.
reminding me of one that I haven't really shared much. So 4.5 years ago, 5 years ago, so somewhere around, I guess it was 4 years ago. Um, I decided to upgrade my underwear. I just wanted to be more feminine, and I was using Victoria's Secret, and I got this company in Sweden, a different vibration, very different frequency. I wasn't really aware of frequencies at the time, so I toss all my Victoria's Secret stuff out because I'm just not liking the energy of it anymore. Well, the night I did that, I'm laying in bed. I feel something coming into the bed, crawling up my legs. I'm getting chills saying because I haven't thought of this in a while. And it's like getting up to my knees, and I start screaming like in an apartment building, calling on Archangel Michael. I'm calling on Yeshua. You are not welcome. You're banned. You are no longer allowed in my field in any time, space, all of that. And it like stopped at my knees, and it was a creepy, creepy feeling. Like I didn't see
Oh
anything, but
yeah.
I felt it. And I'm like, I'm feeling my energy like getting dark. I'm like, what the hell is going on? This is really creepy. And because I call on Yeshua and Archangel Michael, like all of a sudden it goes, geez, what the hell just happened here? Oh my God, she's connected with these beings. And then the energy went back down my legs and it disappeared. I didn't sleep that night.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like knowing that I have powerful allies in the non-physical world supporting me on this journey of remembering who I am, um, like it's just so wild because like there was nothing physically there, but I felt it.
Oh, there was something there for
Oh, there was
sure.
something there for sure.
For sure. That's what I'm saying. Don't be naive
Yeah,
when you start going into, it's like part of the ascension process is expanding our awareness of energy. We're spiritual beings,
yeah,
we're not just physical beings. And so,
right.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like when you come into that awareness of it, it's like, yeah, it's like we got to navigate it.
Yeah, we
And
do.
it's interesting that you say Archangel Michael and Yeshua because those are two of my big ones as well. And the cover artwork for the I Choose Love CD that I did was Michael, basically holding up this incredible heart, and there's a sword going through the middle of the heart, and in the middle of the heart there's a triangle with a circle in it with the
Uh-huh.
eye of the divine in it.
Oh
And
wow.
so Michael has been with me since forever, and it's no wonder we're talking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah, I know.
it never fails. It's like it seems like when I ended up hooking up with people that in the spirituality, they have relations with Michael, and I'm like going, another soul sister or soul brother's showing up.
Well, he came with me I went up to Orcas Island last year. I was guided to go, and I was scared because I didn't know where I was going to live. I just knew I was guided to go up there. So I didn't, I had $200 in my checking account, and I just went. I'm like, I don't even have gas money. Why am I doing this? But it was the soul calling, right? So I drive from Mount Shasta up through Seattle, a tenth of a mile in front of me, no traffic the entire way.
Wow.
I was like, okay, Michael, thank you. So I felt it. It was like there
Yeah.
weren't people on my side. They're like just like this whole like 2/10 of a mile in front and then back for all but like maybe 5 minutes of the entire trip. Like it took a couple days, but like there was no one around me. And I'm like, wow, I am protected. This is a mission. This is whatever this is a mission because there's no way Seattle traffic
Yeah, that's wild.
that happened. So like when I finally got on the ferry and I'm shaking like from fear, I feel the energy of the orcas saying she's here, she's finally here. Um, and that calmed me down because there was something about my frequency with the island that needed to happen. Um, and I connected with the land very deeply for 2 months. And I think that's the only reason I was there was to connect with the land. Because I didn't really connect with any people. But it's that soul mission, you feel that.
Oh yeah.
And whenever, in my experience, whenever I've expanded, I've always had that, like, no, you're safe, you're protected. Don't even worry, everything is fine. You're just being called and everything's gonna unfold perfectly, and it did.
So did you say it was called Orca Island?
Orcus.
Orcas?
Yep.
So did you have any experiences with the orca whales there by any chance?
I haven't met them personally yet, but I found out what their Salish name is, and it's Quelimeshin, which means people of the sea.
Right. Because
And
I one of the things that happened on my journey, this was great. I was a huge, I don't know how old you are, but when I was a young kid, there was a show called Flipper that was
Mhm.
on TV. And it was like one of my favorite shows because of the dolphins. I always wanted to swim with dolphins. Well, I was doing a concert in Calgary, uh, British Columbia, and this woman comes up to me and she said, Shawn, I was just at Greg Braden's event in Vancouver, and he closed the whole event with your video and song for I Choose Love. And I said,
Oh,
oh, that's pretty
wow.
cool. And
That's
she said,
beautiful.
and I came to this concert, a friend of mine said that you got to come and see this guy play. And here you are. It was
Oh,
like, so
that's,
we had a good laugh about that. And she said, listen, I don't know if you're interested in swimming with dolphins, but I take people to swim with dolphins
oh, that's
in
amazing.
Hawaii.
That's amazing.
And so I said, that's something I've been wanting to do my entire life. And she said, well, if you come and play music for us, I'll just treat you to the retreat. You
Wow.
just pay your way and I'll cover everything. And so I did that.
That's
And
amazing.
then wound up out in the Kealakekua Bay with, a couple of hundred dolphins, swimming around. I'm like going, I think I just died and went to heaven, because they were so rich for me. And so I ended up doing my own retreats. I think we did it for 6 years. And I did hers. I actually did three more with her. So anyway, had experiences with not only the dolphins there, but also the humpback whales
Wow.
and the manta ray, and it was just magnificent. And actually, I'm going back on Tuesday. It's a
Oh,
place
that's awesome.
I have to go once a year at least, just to the energetics there, like you were going to sit on the land there. The energetics of Hawaii are spectacular for me, and it's very high frequency. And so anyway, yeah, that was one of the great joys of my life, was to actually take people on these retreats and teach them that art process that I did,
Yeah.
and then teach them how to write songs, and then we swim with dolphins. You know, it
Magical.
it was the funnest thing. And then, unfortunately, during the COVID, they made it illegal in the state of Hawaii to swim with wild dolphins. I mean, it's,
Okay. Oops.
yeah, we don't need to go there,
Oh,
of
I
course,
didn't go there.
because it's like,
Wow.
these beings, they'll take you to higher places.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
They'll
just
absolutely take you.
feeling just feeling the energy of the Quelimeshin, and knowing their native name. Every time I say it, I get a little hit in my heart, like, thank you so much. And anytime I see somebody say killer whale, I'm like, every whale kills, stop it. Like, they just kill cute things. That's the only difference. It's the only
Yeah.
difference. They only kill big cute, they kill big cute things, but they're divine beings.
Oh, for
They
sure.
carry such a high frequency. And when I was on the island, there was this big redwood in Olga, which is one of the town. Well, there's two towns on Orcas. Um, and I'm having a potluck with the Native Americans because the Braves, the teenagers, were paddling around the islands in canoes. It was magical. So I get to have a meal with the tribe. And because of that, I'm feeling their frequency. And the redwood literally pulls me back like this. And I'm standing on my toes while she's pulling me into her. And I finally leave, and she's like, "You're coming back to meditate with me." And I'm like, okay, trees don't have sentences with me.
Hmm.
I feel their energy. I connect with them. I love them. That's why I have a cedar front on my arm. Um, I come back a couple weeks later, and she's like, um, "You're gonna do this every week." And within 5 minutes, she was down. I don't even know what she downloaded in me, but I got the worst headache I've ever had in my life
Mm.
because there was so much information. She was waiting for me. I don't know why, because you don't know why. But then the following week, I actually had to leave because my mom's dementia got worse. Um, but it was like this really powerful, oh geez, now trees can talk to me. I'm used to animals talking to me all the time, but now trees and boulders and like it's an awakening of consciousness because we're the ones that don't communicate with everybody else. They already do.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to the redwoods in California,
Mhm.
and I had made a vow to myself one day, if I was ever in a financial place to to you know replant the redwood forest, I would do it,
Yeah.
because I'm like 82% Irish, and the trees and the druidic and the Celtic was such a huge part of their spirituality, and I live in a grove of old oaks
Oh, I love
here
that.
where I'm living right here right now. So yeah, that's cool. I love tree medicine for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, so how do we navigate these waters today that we're in? How are you experiencing all these new
Gosh.
energies?
Oh my gosh. Naps every day this week, like
Mm,
hour and a half. Like I'll just like lit, and I usually sleep on my side when I take these mid-afternoon naps. I'm flat out on my back and just my hands around my stomach, and I'm just allowing whatever energy is coming through because the Schumann resonance, whew, the spikes are, and I know the solar flares are coming in. I think they started today or yesterday. It's just a lot of energy, and I'm very sensitive to energy. So I'm like, okay,
yeah, me too.
feel that. I'm not socializing. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna be present with myself. If I don't think it's gonna be 99 today. When it's evening, I ground for an hour before bed, so I'm like just able to like hold the frequencies better. Yeah, it's really this past week has been well, the past few months have been really intense with like some dips of a little bit of calm, but I know we're getting more because we're getting more upgrades, and I think that's helping collective consciousness.
Yeah, I would fully agree with all that. And the ascension symptoms have been quite intense for me especially last week. Apparently, there was like over 29 solar flares that came last week, and people are just, if they're not, if they're not really in tune, they're really suffering. A lot
Yeah.
of folk, and so when you were talking about getting grounded, that's been the big medicine for me. And it's not just to be able to put my feet on the earth, you know what I mean? It's like I have to literally, it's like the universal energy coming and is pushing me down into the earth. Are you feeling that at all?
Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
it's like about 2 weeks ago, I was watering the plants in the garden and I was like pulled. I wasn't done and I'm like, I need to lay down now. and just laid in the grass for like 20 minutes until I had to move the hose again. And then I had to like pull myself up. It was really
Yeah.
hard. And so now it's like, okay, it's not as intense as that was, but it's like if I do not do that every day, I'm not sleeping. It's just,
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's like I'm being pulled into pockets or caves or caverns within the earth where there's like almost like one I was pulled into was a Stargate.
oh
And
wow.
it was wild because it's like there's a lot of energy clearing the root system right now.
Mm.
And I was in this portal and walked into it. And as soon as I got into it, it was like this. All I could call it is a succubus. You know what I mean? Just
Oh,
come flying up against it, trying to get at me. And I'm like going, because it was like that sort of sexual energy was being cleared off of me that had been there for a long, long time. And again, ancestral probably. But it also reminded me of a lot of the sex trafficking stuff that's going on. And it's like, I had some I had some intense experiences with the Catholic Church coming up. And so a lot of that was in my field. And so to be able to clear that was like, all right, freedom.
wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some really random, like if I've had lucid dreams of um ancestral stuff coming at me and just being like, wow, like I don't carry these, like my this being doesn't have any of those behaviors, but it's in my field from the ancestors. And
Right.
so the fact that it's showing up in my dreams is like, oh well, this is something else I get to clear now because I don't see any sign of it in me, but it's still here. So it's really curious to see how all the ancestral stuff, because I've done so much clearing on myself, like all the little, oh, you forgot this part, you forgot this part. Here's another space where you get to clear. And it's okay because I'm able to do that. I've done enough work to know what it is. I hold space for it and compassionate and want to help people who are just on the start of their journeys because I can't imagine going through what we're going through without the background that either one of us has had.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that sort of reminds me of it's like at the root of that for me was the emotion of shame. There's
Mm,
something fundamentally wrong with me and I don't deserve anything and I'm not worthy of anything. And that was in the collective. And I
yeah,
felt like it was like, okay, it's like when we snap that one and can really, because, again, coming up in the Catholic Church where they use all that guilt and shame to control people, and then just the whole, when I look back, I've been to Ireland a couple of times and went and explored the Great Famine, and just how incredibly uh, brutal that was. Every bit as brutal as the during World War II with the Jewish people in Auschwitz, and that whole thing. So it's like these things are these big ones. I think that some of us who have been around for a while are starting to really clear the root of it, and I'm excited for that because it's like, okay, now I actually realize I'm at the root, not
ah,
only for me, but for all of humanity, which is very exciting.
yeah, it is because
Yeah.
like the work we do. I remember a couple months ago I was up in Portland and they have there's a metaphysical store called New Renaissance.
I've
And
been there.
oh, okay. So you know the event room with
Yeah.
all the ascended masters in it. Well, I was there to do sessions for animals and nobody had booked. And so I went around and I connected with each of the ascended masters, like just was present with them and talked to them and thanked them for letting me share space with them. Well, I had no interest in moving out of my seat for 5 hours because I felt their energy. And what I heard was because I had connected with them, we collectively sent out something throughout Portland.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was like, that's so cool because like the frequencies were just, it was like this really cool, I don't know, like something about the combination of all of us just like did something and it was like, oh, this is so cool. What a cool way to return to Portland after getting kicked out from COVID. So
Mm,
yeah,
that's very cool. Yeah.
yeah.
So I'd like to share something about the online course that
Please
I
do.
have because
Please do.
it relates to what you were just saying with those
Yeah.
the people that are just starting.
Mhm.
You know, what the when I started painting art, I started mixing the art with music. And so the I Choose Love CD, there's a drawing that I've done that goes to each one of those 15 or 16
Oh,
songs.
beautiful.
And it's my healing journey,
Mhm.
from the calling all the way to the source and reconnecting. And so, and, so it's a great tool for people who are just starting out to understand what the spiritual journey is all about and
Mhm.
what it is that we are really, I guess, cultivating or exploring or expressing. It's all of it because it's all in there, and so it's a good template for someone who's just starting to look. And of
Yeah.
course, there's you can learn how to do some of the arts that I do in it. There's that one process that I told you about when I first started. I actually redid that during for to show people how to do that. So
Very
yeah,
cool.
and it's a very it's a simple process. There's clearing for the energy systems, and it's like it's all there. So because some people it's like they're so overwhelmed with where do I begin,
Mhm.
and if I just find that the arts and music are such a huge part of being able to you know to really allow the. To be present, so
Mhm.
yeah, that's yeah. So yeah, and there's also a book that I created that goes with it. It's I Choose Love, and that's the art of healing and transformation or something like that. I don't remember right at the moment. But anyway, people can, you can actually listen to the songs, see the drawing in the book, read the lyrics and stuff like that, and then read my story about it, and then put yourself into the picture.
That's
How yeah, yeah, so it's really and it's if you stay with it, it can really bring you into some really incredible experiences,
oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I remember a few years ago, one of my girlfriends did this 21-day painting of a mandala, and I hadn't painted in a long time, and it was like 15 minutes a day. Just do something 15 minutes a day on this painting, and after 21 days, you'll have something. And it was such a beautiful reintroduction into painting because I hadn't done it in so long. It was like, oh my gosh, I remember I enjoyed this.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't had it, and unfortunately, I left, well, the painting I was working on up in Orchids last year, so I left it up there. I'm like, all right, I haven't been back up. But yeah, that whole process of allowing the soul to express itself in whatever medium it likes. I mean, for me, I told you before we started, one of my joys is baking, and I'll just take a recipe and play with it. Because it's an expression of my soul, and it doesn't, like, the point is to allow the soul to express itself
Mm-hmm.
whatever ways that brings it joy. And most of us haven't allowed ourselves the opportunity to feel into that.
During the I Choose Love course I was telling you about, there's a process in there where I take people on a journey to reclaim their joy. In other words, it's like, and a lot of people take journey and you go to the wounds and everything, which is great. And we do some of that on it too. But it's like to really understand what I call the dream keeper, which is your child self.
Mhm.
And the dream keeper is the one that comes into the world with the true gifts of your soul.
Yeah.
And when and this meditation will take you back to the parts of your life, especially when you're a little kid, where what did you love to do?
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this. You remember those big tops where you crank the handle and they spin around?
Mm-hmm.
It was like my favorite toy when I was a 4-year-old. And I go all the way back and I'm seeing this and I'm like, going, what are you trying to tell me? And it was the color that I was so mesmerized.
Oh, cool.
And this was right at the start as I was starting to paint. And because people to this day, they say, how do you do that with color? It's
Mm,
like, I mean, it's like you're just amazed. And I said, it's just there. It was an innate gift.
right.
And so it's really, really important on the spiritual journey, to reclaim your gifts, your
Yeah.
your true natural gifts, and bring them forward because that's your true connection to source as well,
Oh, yeah.
and so I think it's important, and you can do it in a joyful way. It doesn't have to be, all wound, you know.
Right. No, I know. You're bringing in a thought I haven't had in a really long time. So I used to have this stuffed. It was like a pattern that my aunt cut out and stuffed it, and it was my stuffed cat, Chi Chi, named after a drink that they had in Hawaii that I just love the name of it, so I called my cat Chi Chi. Well, Chi Chi slept with me every night. I kissed him every night, and he was disgusting, right? Because he was a child's toy. And so one day my mom tried to wash him, and I screamed because I thought he was going to drown, right? And then then one day I went to school and I came back and Chi Chi had a new outfit. And I'm like, you're suffocating him.
Oh, wow.
Freaking out because I thought he was going to suffocate to death. Because my little girl already knew that Chi Chi was a sentient being, even though it looked like an inanimate object, right? My car talks to me like on the quantum level. Like I already knew this. I knew this that like everything is energy.
Hmm.
And because I was such an empath, I thought my stuffed animal was going to suffocate. So mom had to take the thing off. She was like, "You were such a crazy child." I'm like, "No, I'm not. It's like a real thing to me. It's alive to me. I don't see why you don't see it's alive, but that's not my problem. That's your problem."
Right, yeah. Well, I think it's interesting how you told me this, you said early on that you're a pet intuitive.
Mhm.
You were a pet intuitive with that little Chi-Chi.
Oh yeah, I was a pet.
Yeah, that was, see, that's what the elders, if someone knows what they're doing,
Yeah,
that's what they could look and say, oh, we need to steer her towards being with animals because that's where her gift is going to lie.
that would have been really nice.
Yeah, and so, but now we can do that,
It's a roundabout way. But
Yeah.
like I mean I was told when I was in a body cast when I was little, and when I first got out, I was walking with my mom and I crushed an anthill and I cried
Oh, well.
because I saw all the animals, all the ants scattering. I'm like, oh my God, I just destroyed their home. And I
Yeah.
felt it. And so of course, this like the gift that I have is like communicating with animals. I didn't know that, and growing up in Connecticut in Fairfield County, Connecticut in the 70s and 80s wasn't really encouraged. So it just took a little while for me to get to where I was supposed to be in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I wound up here too, and it's like it's a wonder how I did. You know, I mean, it's like I never thought I would be doing artwork,
Right.
and yeah, it's I thought I was going to be an entrepreneur like my dad, and that lasted about 3 months. I was hooked on the guitar at that point, and I said, I don't think I can put this down. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Sorry, Dad. This is beautiful. I love that, when we're open to it, how we're guided back to that deeper purpose within ourselves.
Hmm. I agree. I agree. And to this day, I mean, I was painting today. It's like it's one of
I
the,
could tell.
yeah, I gotta even have paint on my hands here.
I
Yeah.
noticed you were waving your hands around. I'm like, you were painting today.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So anyway, yeah, so and so that's, if you have an aptitude towards the arts, it's like, I suggest that you find it because it'll make you happy. Yeah.
I think everybody has an aptitude to some degree of creativity. It's just that we've forgotten what that is.
Well, yeah, I mean, accountants can be really creative, with numbers and stuff like that. It doesn't, yeah, a creative thing can be in anything, you
Right.
know, you know,
Just be open to it.
yeah, and yeah, for sure. So anyway,
Mm.
yeah. So what else can we talk about?
So many things, so many things. I'm just tuning in. What is this is a fun question coming through. What has been your favorite experience with your musical journey?
Um, Again, is with that song, I Choose Love. And I've had several experiences with that one, but the big one was I was doing a conference in Aspen, Colorado. It was right at the foot of the mountains, like in kind of an amphitheater sort of
Mm.
thing.
Yeah.
But, and it was called the Seminar of the Century, and I had gotten hired with my friend Lance, who is one of the founding members of the band Orleans, and we were writing some theme songs for the this guy named T. Harv Eker to for his community. So
Okay.
anyway, they invited us out there to play.
Mhm.
So and we showcased one of the songs we had written, and there's 4 or 5 thousand people here. Big jumbotrons on each side of the stage, and so we had just a fantastic time. And so they knew about the I Choose Love song, and they said, Shawn, would you be willing to stay longer and play your song for us on Sunday morning? And I said, sure, I'll do it. And they'll pay me, change my flights and everything like that. So I go out there with me and a guitar, and they have the words up on both sides of
Oh,
the
wow.
stage. So
That's cool.
I'm singing I Choose Love with 4 to 5 thousand people, and we're all singing it at the top of our lungs. And
Oh
it was
my
like,
gosh, that's beautiful.
yeah, to me, it was like that place where I felt like I just stepped into the big leagues, and it was a real joy to experience that. And that from there, I ended up playing that song again. Greg Braden picked it up, and I did some tours with him, and we play that at the end of his thing, and it'd be at the You Can Do It, I Can Do It conferences, with Hay House, and I mean there'd be 3,000 to 5,000 people there, and we're all singing I Choose Love at the end of Greg's talk.
Oh,
So that was a lot of fun, and
yeah.
so those were the bigger ones. But I've had some other experiences with that song, where this was one I'll never forget. It was I toured whoops, sorry, I toured Australia, and this one woman, she came up to me and said, Shawn, I have to tell you this story. And she said that I was in my house with my husband, and they lived in a place that was somewhat remote or whatever, but apparently some guy had gotten extremely drunk and was basically wanting to murder them.
Oh,
And
wow.
he was pounding on the front door to get in there, and they're doing everything they can. They're, calling the police, whatever, and they're scared, thinking he has a gun and everything. And so she said she just starts telling the guy over and over and over again, I choose love, I choose love, I choose love. And they were thinking about my song, and we choose love, I choose love. And they said the guy fell on his feet at the foot, or he just sat down in front of the door and started weeping,
Wow.
and they were talking across the door to him, and he got into this whole thing about how his father had beat him severely in his life, and he just, he says, I don't like the way I am, but I don't know how to heal and all this and all that. And so it was just like, wow, that was pretty amazing song.
Ah,
And then I had
that's
another one where a guy called me and said, Shawn, I just wanted to tell you that I was going to commit suicide. I had a gun to my head, and I was ready to take my life. And I was playing your song over and over and over again, and he didn't do it. So to hear stuff like that, happen in the world with something that I've created has been, you know, I mean, it's been worth every ounce of, intensity and hardship that I've handled to say, hey, you know what? At least I was impactful to at least one soul on this planet in a profound way or two, and now, so yeah, those are pretty cool. It's when you know that that what I'm doing can impact like that. It's
Ah,
really special.
mm, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and as a for you and your audience, it's like you can do that for yourselves. Find the song "I Choose Love," Shawn Gallaway. And if you're ever in a hard space, tough spot, it'll immediately pull you up if you really feel into it. It'll pull you right out. And and doesn't our world could use a song like that right now, don't you think? And
Yeah.
so I've been asking a lot of people, like, hold the vision that someone can reach the masses with this song in a big way right now, because I had my trip with it. I'm ready to pass it on to someone else. Let
Mm,
somebody else have a big old hit on it.
yeah. That's so beautiful because it was really like, I know we're shifting. I feel it. I know we're like right here, right before like here. And to whatever can, no, that's not the word I want. Catalyze. Um, that jumping over the other side because it feels very close. It feels very close.
Yeah, we're at the tipping point for sure. The spiritual war is coming to a point for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and choosing love is a wise choice in my opinion. No
It's a very
judgment.
wise choice. Like
Yeah,
whenever we feel triggered, that's an opportunity for us to feel the love within us for that part of us that didn't feel loved.
exactly. Yeah, well
So,
said for sure. Yeah.
well, I'm going to ask the final question, and that is,
Okay, cool.
how do people find you?
Um, I have a website. It's Shawn, Shawn Gallaway, GALLAWAY.com. You can go there, and there's all kinds of stuff. There's paintings and drawings, and you can sign up for a course there if you'd like to take it. I also have a Facebook page. There's a business page. What is it called? Shawn Gallaway Music on
Okay.
Facebook. And that there's a lot of like when COVID, I did it like a show every three songs, and a lot of those are still up there, and you can go listen to them too. So that's fun. So yeah, that's where you can find me, and please feel free to reach out anytime. You can get my email on either one of those places, and I do sessions with people and remote, in person, whatever. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for all of the work you do in the world, for your beingness and for your light. I'm so grateful for this conversation and for the time that I have spent with you.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, it's great to see another soul sister. It's absolutely. So yeah, yeah. Let's stay connected.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank
Have you ever heard the song "I Choose Love"?
I don't think I have, but I
Send
will.
me. Can you send me an email?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'll send you a copy.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, goodbye, everyone.